What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB, and more specifically, an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty. We are slowly getting through these divisional breakdowns. Today, we're talking about the NFC South, hopefully giving you as much information as physically possible in about an hour time. So it would not be an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty without my co-host MFGD. So let's get him into the building and let's start talking the NFC South. War, how we doing today?
Boom, boom, boom. Ready to talk about these divisions, man. Ready to get it popping. Here with the Crown Prince of Dynasty Football, Andrew Mott. It's the Fantasy Renegade MFGDs. Let's go.
Let's get it, man. Look, I realized today as I was getting ready for this show that I kind of fumbled a little bit on the last batch of recordings that we did for the NFC and the AFC North because apparently I own a jersey from one player in every single division in football. Didn't know that until today, but I could have worn a Joe Burrow jersey for the AFC North, and I could have definitely worn a Vikings jersey for the NFC North. But today I'm in a Bryce Young jersey, so that's the Bryce Young jersey for the NFC South. Got some other ones. Like I said, I'll do it for the rest of them, but I fumbled, man, because I could have worn a jersey from a team in every division in football.
Yeah, man. How could you do that?
And I noticed too, because I was editing I was editing the video and I saw the last NFC North, you had a Bears jersey on, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, so I fumbled. Thanks for the reminder. And we are going to hop in with the team that is, let's just say, projected the worst team in the division. It is the New Orleans Saints, projected with a win total of 4.5 games this year. 2024, they went 5-12, so not much better than what they're projected this year. Finished 4th in the NFC South. And some changes happened in New Orleans this year. Hired Kellen Moore, who is the former offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he is now their new head coach. They also hired Doug Nussmeier as the offensive coordinator, who spent some time with Kellen Moore in Dallas, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, XYZ. At the end of the day, only departure that they really have from this team is Derek Carr, who retired from the NFL, and they added Tyler Shuck, Devin Neal, and Brandon Cook. So not a ton of spicy additions either. When you look at the top 250 guys in Superflex right now for the New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, Rashid Shaheed, Tyler Shuck, Devin Neal, Kendre Miller, and Spencer Rattler. Pretty short list. Not a ton of super desirable assets for dynasty leagues. But where do you kind of want to start this conversation? Is it the quarterbacks? Is it Olave? I mean, where do we want to start?
What are we talking about here? Are we talking about are we talking about the Saints? Or are we talking about the Aints? Because I see the Aints. I don't see the Saints. All right.
This is a team that could be playing for 101.
This is so bad. Like, I was listening to you, do the dialogue for the Saints, and I was just sitting here thinking to myself, this is so bad. Like, oh yeah, Kellen Moore is the new head coach. I'm just like, yeah. And then you're talking about, I don't know what his name, Doug Flutie, one of these Dougs.
Doug Nussmeier.
Doug Nussmeier, whoever. I'm just like, and then I look at this ranking. It's like, okay, I think the important thing to do here is talk about the word hope. So from the bottom up, where does the word hope come in? Like Spencer Rattler, there's no hope. Kendre Miller, I'm like, there's no hope there.
You want to know where the word hope comes in? Hopefully, Chris Olave is healthy. That's where it comes in.
Man. That's it. Like that's it. That's where the word hope comes in, because Alvin Kamara. Honestly, I wish they would have just traded Alvin Kamara, get him out there, because I want better for Alvin Kamara. I feel like his talent. Like, just imagine if he was like on the Chiefs or something. Like, I mean, it might be too much legal going on there if he was on the Chiefs, but it would be very dynamic. Like, it sucks to know that he's probably going to spend like the last bit of vestiges of his career on the Aints, and it's not like Olave. He's young enough to like might be able to still be in his prime when the team actually finds a quarterback, but Kamara would be long gone by then. And yeah, man, for dynasty purposes, just like future type stuff, Olave is really like the only guy here where you could kind of see some hope for. And yeah, man,
it's tough. I mean, I think right now, at least the way that I look at it, maybe low-hanging fruit here. But you kind of made fun of Doug Nussmeier. His son, Garrett Nussmeier, is maybe going to end up QB1 in the 2026 draft class. The Saints are going to be very bad. So I think there's a chance here that we could see Garrett Nussmeier be the QB1 of the Saints next year, which would be way more interesting than what we have on the table right now, because I actually do like Garrett Nussmeier a lot as a prospect. I think he's very, very solid overall, and I think he's going to be worthy of the number 1 pick potentially if he goes out and has a pretty decent year. So that said, like, it would give you some hope for Olave, maybe give you hope for a guy like Shaheed long term, but it's really tough for me to want to sit here and spend a ton of time on the New Orleans Saints because, like you said, Kamara, he's going to be fine for like a contending roster where he's going to get the volume out of the backfield as a receiver like he's always done. But how much longer is that going to happen? How many touchdowns is he going to get on an offense that isn't really projected to score a lot of points and not really win a lot of games? It's not great. And then everybody else like Devin Neal, Kenjay Miller, like dart throw, taxi squad type of guys, where even Kenjay Miller, like I'm kind of at the point with Kenjay Miller where like he's had years to carve out a role and he hasn't. So I don't really care. Shuck and Rattler, like I bet both of them start games this year and I think both of them are going to suck. I don't think either of them is a good quarterback in the NFL. Wouldn't be surprised if even at some point in time a third quarterback is in the mix for the Saints. But overall, like the only guy that I even have interest in is Olave, and that's because his price is wide receiver 31, and we know that like if he could get a quarterback upgrade going into 2026, if he proves this year that he's healthy and can stay on the football field, there's room for some value insulation with Chris Olave. But other than that, dude, like I'm good on all of these guys, and I'm not gonna put a bunch of these guys on my rosters. And if I have these guys on my rosters, like I'm gonna try and move laterally. Like let me ask you this, like would you rather take the shot right now on a guy like Shaheed, or would you rather like move laterally to a guy in a better offense with a better quarterback in a better situation, but he's lower on the depth chart, like Jalen McMillan of the Buccaneers?
Oh yeah, all the way. I thought you was gonna say somebody like Dontavion Wicks.
No, I mean, what about even like, would you like Leggett? Would you rather go Leggett than Shaheed?
Regretfully, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's tough, man. And it's because it's hard to project this team being very good.
That being
And again,
said, I don't see anybody giving up either of those players for Rashid Shaheed.
exactly, because the situation's so awful.
They're going to be looking for Olave for like those type of players. Crazy enough.
That's insane. But yeah, really for me, I mean, it comes down to it. Like Shaheed, a best ball play for me. Like if you want to draft him in best ball, fine, because he has big playability. Like we've seen him catch long touchdowns before. Kamara is like a contending piece that you can hopefully get for a cheap price. Like I'd maybe consider, like I'd probably give a second on a contending roster because I project that second to be late, and then just see what I get out of Kamara. And then Olave, like I'm willing to buy low before they get the QB of the future next year, because the QB of the future is not on this roster. Tyler Shuck don't care. Rattler don't care. The other guys don't care. Like that's just where I'm at.
Let me see. You know how this show goes. Now I'm gonna have to put into a little note to see if I can get Kamara for a second.
He's like, that's the price I'd be willing to pay. Like I'm not giving 2 seconds and I'm not giving a first. So like you can have a second if you want to get out of Kamara, but you have to find the right seller who's maybe trending towards a rebuild and just wants to get the last little squeeze of juice out of what Alvin Kamara has in value.
Yeah, I see.
So anyways, I don't want to burn a ton of time talking about the Saints because it's just, let's just be honest, it's not interesting for fantasy right now for them. Yeah, let's go to not the New Orleans Saints. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are projected to win 6.5 games this year, trending up a little bit. Last year they went 5-12, finished third place in the NFC South. That was obviously after finishing in last the year prior, drafting Bryce Young that year. No coaching changes. It's the same guys, Dave Canales. Offseason departures, they lose Miles Sanders, if that matters. And then their offseason additions, T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan, Rico Dowdle, Trevor Etienne, Mitchell Evans, and Jimmy Horn in the NFL draft. So some interesting additions, I think, here in Carolina. Like I said, definitely a team that I think is trending up in the right direction. Don't know if it's going to be enough this year to be a strong contender in their own division. But looking at the top 250 for them, T-Mac's the number one guy. Bryce Young, Chuba, Leggett, Coker, Jonathan Brooks, Trevor Etienne, Jatavian Sanders, and Rico Dowdle are all here in play for the top 250 in ADP. Let's kind of start this conversation first around the wide receivers, because it's very easy to just look at it and say T-Mac is the number one guy, and we both believe that. We've been big T-Mac truthers on this channel all offseason. But outside of that, I think it's somewhat interesting. Leggett still in play. Coker is a guy that kind of showed some flashes last year. Obviously, I said Jimmy Horn was added. Adam Thielen is still on this roster. He's not in the top 250, I think, because of age. How do you feel about this wide receiver room, behind T-Mac?
Well, I know one thing. I like Coker more than I like Boozy. So I will move him above him on this list. Obviously Tet is our number one guy here. They already got him as wide receiver 15. That's nuts. That's nuts. But I think he can live up to that.
I think he's going to be a star.
Yeah, he's the only thing I'm purely confident in this Panthers wide receiver room. I have Jalen Coker's been a sleeper for me since last season. I feel like I dug deep to get him on my roster, multiple rosters I have, because I did like some pre-research and everything. So I had him there. And Xavier Legette, I'm just not a Legette guy, man. I'm just not a Legette guy, dog. Like, he
Fair.
cool, but I
Legette's...
roster him. I roster him, but it's just that I feel like with Tet there, with me feeling like Coker is a good sleeper who could, step up, and Tet being like, to me, a possibly bona fide stud. I just don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team ideally will have this be T-Mac, the starting X on the outside, Legette the Z, and then Coker in the slot. Like, that's probably what it'll be. Those two on the outside, Legette and McMillan, and then Coker in the slot long term. That's the way that I see it. I think Adam Thielen, he's fine for now. He operated primarily as the wide receiver 3 in that preseason game that we had here just this last weekend. Coker looked pretty good in that game as well. Obviously, Legette was thrown out of it early, but in the time that he was on the football field, he was primarily operating as the number 2. I think this is fine. Coker is definitely a guy that I like as a sleeper on this team. Still think he can be pretty valuable, and I think I agree with you. I think he can outproduce Legette despite the fact that Legette is number 2 on the depth chart. But for me, it's T-Mac is, I truly do believe T-Mac is like wide receiver 1 upside. Could be a top 12 guy in fantasy in a year or two. I think he's going to get peppered with targets. Has big playability, going to be a red zone threat. I know it's just a preseason game, but Bryce Young was already throwing these like really strong anticipating throws towards T-Mac in that game, hitting him down the sideline, putting the ball, in a bucket for T-Mac to catch it on the sideline. T-Mac was out here running routes, catching it, breaking into the end zone, and didn't catch that football, dropped that football. But it's like, I think the rapport there is going to be so strong by the time the season is over that T-Mac's going to be a pretty damn good fantasy asset for us. So he's honestly one of the players that I'm the most excited about in this rookie class, and one of the players that I'm the most excited about in this division entirely. So really like that. Outside of that, I don't really think Thielen is going to be super fantasy football relevant for much longer. He's just a little bit too old. There's a chance, potentially, I've heard rumblings. We talked about it on the trade show, but there have been rumblings that maybe Thielen could be available for trade potentially, but we'll see what happens with that. Let's go over to the running backs though, because I feel like this is an interesting talking point as well. Chuba Hubbard obviously had the breakout year last year. Jonathan Brooks was drafted to kind of be a guy, but obviously a second ACL tear, as he just had come back from an ACL tear, is not ideal. So then they go and add Rico Dowdle in free agency, and they draft Trevor Etienne in the 4th round this year, who's Travis Etienne's younger brother. Outside of I guess really not even outside of Chuba, just how are you envisioning this backfield to look here in 2025?
That backfield is cooked. Bro. Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, he's a good solid running back too. Guy you put in your rosters, put in your lineups, and you just let it ride until bye week and set him down. And just a lot like with Ted, everything after Chuba in that room is kind of just questionable, but it's even more so. Jonathan Brooks, man, how much has changed in a year, man. Remember when the Dynasty community was just head over heels for Jonathan Brooks? Jonathan Brooks,
yeah,
a year ago, because it's been what now? 1 season or 2 seasons?
Last year was his rookie year, so he's only had 1 year in the NFL.
Okay, I wish I could remember where he was last time we did this, but I could have sworn.
I'll tell you what, we were having conversations last offseason about I remember specifically, me and you on this show saying yo, Jonathan Brooks is crazy overvalued right now by the community. And he was at that time being drafted, I think, as the running back 11, running back 12 in Dynasty. So he was a top 12 guy. We were drafting him as an RB1, and we were like, yo, this is a crazy high evaluation for a guy coming off an ACL that also just to be completely real, didn't have like elite tape at the collegiate level.
Yeah, and like I think at one point I think he was probably like the most highly valued player on the team, like in
He
terms of
was,
like the
because you said
community.
in this exact episode last year, you said, I don't understand how Jonathan Brooks is being drafted ahead of Bryce Young.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, I said I don't either, but I'm the one who originally
You're the
said
one who
it.
said it.
Yeah, man. I like, yeah, dude. Like, that's still crazy to me. I'm actually kind of surprised that he's still like in the top 250 at this point, because I think we could be looking at a situation where, man, like, I don't know if this dude will ever play. I
I,
mean, that's
I
pretty
think it's
sad.
I think it's ridiculous. I think the reason why he's still even valued as the RB2 on this roster is because people drafted him at prices like that, and they're like, I can't give up on him now. I have to have hope. Like, it's sunk cost fallacy in the community right now with Jonathan Brooks. I'll be real. Zero desire for me to have Jonathan Brooks on any team. Don't want him. Don't care about him. Like, you can say, oh, Andrew, you're just writing a guy off before he ever got to play on the football field. I don't care. I just don't care. We've kind of seen what this does to running backs. The absolute best of best case scenarios for a running back that can deal with injury after injury after injury to the start of their career and then come back and give you something would be J.K. Dobbins. And it took him going to a Jim Harbaugh offense with no other running backs other than Gus Edwards and then just running the wheels off of him for, 9 games before he got hurt again. Like, that's just the best case scenario that we could have for a guy like Jonathan Brooks. I think Chuba's the better guy. They paid Chuba to, be the running back, at least for now. I'll be real. I think Rico Dowdle is severely slept on. I think he's going to be involved more than people want. He was brought in by this regime to kind of be a change of pace guy. I think he should be probably being valued right behind Coker. Like, that's where I would be looking at Dowdle in my own rankings, would be like right behind Coker in this offense. I'd have him over Brooks. I'd have him over Etienne. I'd maybe have JT Sanders higher as well. I think he's a little bit slept on here, but I just think Dowdle and Chuba are the two guys that are going to have this thing humming this year. Chuba's probably going to, if you're wanting him to do what he did last year, it's probably not going to happen the same way. Not to say Chuba Hubbard can't be good. I think he still can be valued. And at RB20, he probably can still pay off at that ADP. I just think Dowdle's going to be a change of pace guy, and I think they're going to have two guys in this backfield, and Dowdle's going to be the beneficiary of that. I've been drafting a ton of Dowdle in best ball as like my running back 5 and 6 very late in drafts, because I just think he gets some passing down work, and I think he gets some carries, and he'll be more involved than people think.
I can see that. I think a lot of people still view him as like the bargain bin purchase of the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that like really hurt his value. So like he's gonna have to kind of rehabilitate his stock a little bit there in Carolina behind Chuba Hubbard. And if he's getting the work that you say he might get, then I think he can do just that.
Yeah, I mean, is it really out of the range of outcomes for him to come in on, 3 or 4 third down plays a game, and then also have him take 5, 6, 7 carries a game? Like, and then all of a sudden we're looking at Dowdle getting potentially double-digit touches each week. Like, I don't think that's out of the range of outcomes at all.
See, another thing I gleaned from what you're saying right now, though, is that this also is like kind of an indictment on what you think about Trevor Etienne. It doesn't seem like you have very much belief in him as a prospect.
I think Trevor Etienne is fine as a prospect, and he may end up being the guy that takes over Rico's role after Dowdle's contract is up. Because Dowdle signed, somebody's going to have to correct me in the comments, but just off the top of my head, I think it was a 2-year deal. The money is kind of pushed towards the front, so they could get out of it this year. Like, I think Etienne's more of a 2026 play, potentially, than he is in 2025. So I'm just not having him be super involved as a rookie.
Well, Etienne's 2026 play. Brooks is probably like a 2028 play, so we'll see how that goes.
It comes down to one guy, though, and it's Bryce Young. So, we've talked about all of the other options, really. How do you feel about Bryce Young going into year 3, year 2 with Dave Canales here? Showed us some flashes last year at the back half of the year. You like another step forward for Bryce, or how are we viewing him?
My interest is peaked. I want to know if we're going to get the Bryce Young that started the season last season, or if we're going to get the Bryce Young that ended last season that was just on a complete tear. I really hope that it's the latter and not the former. And I want to see him continue that trend. I have a feeling that it's not going to go that way initially. I do think that he's probably going to start the season slow. I just have that gut feeling. But I do think that we're going to get somewhere in between what we got at the beginning of last season and what we got at the end. I think we're going to find a perfect sweet spot as far as production in between those two, because what he was doing at the end of the season last season, that was it was OP. It was OP. So
Yeah.
I don't expect him to play at that level for an entire season. But if he could get to where he's somewhere in between where we were calling him, well, not we, because you kind of maintained belief in him the whole time. Where a lot of people were calling him like a bust, and somewhere in between that OP, like if he could just show consistency and just be a good quarterback throughout the entire season, that's what I think we'll get.
Fair enough. Yeah, I like Bryce to potentially keep building upon what he had. Obviously I want to see it. I'm not like I wouldn't go out there and bet my house on it. But I think adding a guy like T-Mac to this roster, it's only going to help Bryce overall. If T-Mac turns into the guy that we think he is, that's going to help Bryce tremendously. So I do like a step forward for Bryce again this year. QB 20, there's definitely room for some growth there, I think, in his overall ADP. Whether it's playing drafts or sweating pick'ems, there's no offseason on Underdog, which means there's still plenty of ways to cash in big this summer. No matter the sport you're watching, Underdog has you covered, and all you have to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite athletes from whatever sport, put them into a pick'em entry, watch the winning multiplier increase, click play, and win real cash. So what are you waiting for? Download Underdog and start playing today. Plus, when you use promo code LEAGUEFFB, Underdog will give you a new customer special, which is a free square for your first pick'em entry, and they will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash, giving you the perfect head start to winning big on Underdog. So if you want to support our show and get in on some daily fantasy sports action, click the link in our description to sign up for Underdog using code LEAGUEFFB. So thank you to our sponsors over at Underdog, and with that out of the way, let's get back into the action. But let's go to the next team in the division, and it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They are projected to win a total of 7.5 games, or they have a projected game total of 7.5 games. Last year, they went 8-9, finished second in the NFC South. Of the teams in this division, they're the only team that had no coaching changes, no offseason departures of major notice, and no offseason additions of major notice on the offensive side of the ball. So really the exact same roster, exact same coaching staff, running it back again here this year. The only thing that you could say is a change is instead of week 1 starter Kirk Cousins, it's week 1 starter Michael Penix. So when you look at the top 250 in ADP for them, we're looking at guys like Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Michael Penix Jr., Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and Tyler Algier, but really consolidated across these 6 Dynasty assets. Obviously some very good assets in Bijan and London, but I mean, really, where do you want to have a conversation? I don't think we need to talk too much about London and Bijan. We both believe in those guys tremendously, I would say.
And I know where I want to start. And you know what? I'm gonna cede it to you, man, because just go ahead. Let's just get this out the way, brother.
Okay.
Let's talk about Kyle. Let's talk about Kyle Pitts. Let's just get it out the way so we could just have a clean slate. The rest of the talking points about the Falcons. Let's just go ahead and get Kyle Pitts drama out the way.
Yeah, I mean, being drafted as tight end 10, cheaper than we've had him pretty much the last couple of seasons, but it still feels like there's a little bit of hopium with Kyle Pitts there at that ADP. Being drafted, near the top 100 assets. I understand the argument for Kyle Pitts, right? Young guy, athleticism is off the charts, like the high draft capital. These are things that we pinned on him early on in his career. A lot of it hasn't really translated. There have been flashes from Kyle Pitts, but we've never had consistency from Kyle Pitts. And then you have, Michael Penix, which I get it because a lot of the media is talking about Kyle Pitts and potentially trading Kyle Pitts away from Atlanta, and we need to see Kyle Pitts break out and yada, yada, yada. And then Penix is in training camp saying, oh, you saw me get Kyle Pitts the football today. I'm going to do that a lot this year. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it, Michael. Like, at this point in time, like, you can tell me all day long. I've heard everybody in this industry and everybody in the Falcons organization and everybody everywhere tell me that Kyle Pitts is going to be this number 1 tight end, and I just don't ever see it happen. I think for me, he's a player that, like, I found myself drafting him a little bit more in best ball than I have anywhere else, and I think that's because of his cost in best ball. He's going like way deep in drafts, and so like there's where I'll invest my hopium in like a $2 or a $5 underdog best ball tournament where I can just click Kyle Pitts as like tight end 2 or 3 on my roster. But in a dynasty league, like, I understand your argument. For me, it's just I need to see it to believe it. And honestly, I think we said this last year, and I just truly mean it here. Like, it's put up or shut up time for Kyle Pitts right here. Like, and honestly, the community needs to either see him put it up or shut up, like, going into next year. Like, that's just where we're at with Kyle Pitts. I don't want to hear a damn thing about Kyle Pitts ever again as a top 5, 7, 10 tight end if he goes out there this year and gives us another stinker season. I don't want to hear you guys say his fucking name ever again. Period. Like, I just don't want to hear that shit.
I feel like, first of all, I'll believe it when I see it. Michael should be a t-shirt. I believe when I see it, Michael. Man, the funny thing about this dialogue about Kyle Pitts is that we have already given him his put up or shut up moment, and we've already given him his put up or shut up moment. We've already given him his I ain't gonna talk about Kyle Pitts no more. Like we've already given all this to him. Like we already did shut up what we put up.
Bro, I have been done with Kyle Pitts, and I think that's the reason why you wanted to bring him up first, is because I've been so done with Kyle Pitts, and for some reason the community won't give up. They're going to hold on to hope for Kyle Pitts forever. Like, I don't know why the community won't give up, and I understand. Cool prospect at the time that he was drafted. He hasn't done anything for my damn fantasy teams. That's all I care about at this point in time. And we're getting to the end of the rookie contract. Like, what the hell is happening here, bro? Like, why are we still acting as if he's elite? He can be good. It doesn't mean he's elite. Let's stop acting like he's elite.
That's the thing, man. That's what these dynasty managers have to realize, that hopium turns into copium when pressure is applied. Pressure is applied to the hopium for Kyle Pitts, and now it turns to copium. Because now you're going to get people in the comment section, they're going to be like, oh man, Andrew, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Kyle Pitts, if it wasn't for Kirk Cousins struggling, then Kyle Pitts, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for that. Look, man, Kyle, like, very few times. What's this now? Like, Jesus, I remember, what are we talking about now? 5 years or something like that? Kyle Pitts was drafted to go? Like,
bro, he was drafted in the Joe Burrow draft class in 2020.
2020. It's 2025. Like,
or no, it wasn't the Joe Burrow draft class. It was 2021 with Jamar Chase. So 2021.
Okay. For most tight ends who like have a slow start to their career, it usually takes about 3 seasons before they start. Like, he's already even past that day. Like, I don't know, man. At this point,
we've had countless tight ends: Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, like all of these guys that have come in as rookies or second-year players or whatever and finally produced for us. We say finally because we're so impatient as a community, but it's like, if these guys are coming in 2 years in, whatever, and then giving us those seasons, when do we stop with Kyle Pitts? Because Kyle Pitts is going to be at the point where he's on second contract, and we're like, damn, if only Kyle Pitts could get a quarterback. Damn, if only Kyle Pitts could become the number 2 target in his offense over Darnell Mooney. Damn, if only Kyle Pitts could go to a new team. Like, how many excuses are we on with Kyle Pitts at this point? I think we've had 7 or 8 different excuses for Kyle Pitts as to why he hasn't produced.
Let me see something, man. I got to see something, man. Because,
and you're right. The comments are going to come in and they're going to say Andrew's being a hater of Kyle Pitts. Andrew hates Kyle Pitts, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's going to happen. But at this point, like, I just need to see it to believe it. That's all I'm saying, man. Like, I need to see it to believe it. And people are going to say, well, he flashed. Yes, I need to see it consistently.
Considering the profile of Kyle Pitts, there's no reason why the following tight ends should have done better than him last season. I'm going to put Jonnu Smith to the side, because to me, that was an aberration. I don't know how that happened. And he was there. He was in Atlanta at one point, so... Okay, yeah. Zach Ertz, who we thought was dead, should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts. Pat Frymuth, who did not have a quarterback, should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts. Tucker Kraft, who for the most part was sharing space with Luke Musgrave for a minute, should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts. David Njoku, who also technically did not have a quarterback, should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts. Hunter Henry, who had a rookie quarterback who's still trying to figure shit out, should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts. Mike Gesicki, who I've been said was dead, should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts.
Who, by the way, is like wide receiver or is the third or fourth receiving option on his own damn team. Gesicki.
Exactly. Cade Otton should not have finished better than Kyle Pitts. And then you get to Kyle Pitts. And that's what I named all these players without even mentioning the elite studs that he obviously wasn't going to finish better than. There's no reason why he should have been the 15th tight end. And now you're trying to tell me that he's going to go up 5 spots like, and be tight end 10 after he's already proven that he barely was able to be tight end 15. Dude, he only had a few more points than freaking Tyler Conklin and Cole Kmet and Chiga Okonkwo. Like, he was a few points away from being tight end 25. So
yeah, I mean, look, I've said this on numerous occasions about Kyle Pitts, so I'm gonna end the poop train on Pitts right now, but
poop on Pitts.
Yeah, I'm just gonna end that because everything that we've said has been said before, and like you said, most people tell us that we're wrong about it. And I think for most people, if Kyle Pitts finishes as a top 12 tight end, they're going to be acting as if he's been revived and he's the best thing since sliced bread again. And the reality is, like, tight end 12 ain't doing shit for your lineup. Let's just be real. Like, the difference between tight end 12 and tight end 18 is nothing. So the real thing to me is, in a dynasty league, specifically a tight end premium, even a non-tight end premium, I need guys in my lineup. If I'm going to pay top 100 prices for them in ADP, I need a guy that I believe can finish as a top 3 to 5 tight end, because those are the only guys that are going to make a difference in my lineup. And I'll tell you right now, Kyle Pitts will not finish outside of injury. Kyle Pitts will not outscore Brock Bowers. He will not outscore Trey McBride. He will not outscore George Kittle. And then you have to get him into the conversation of, can he outscore Hawkinson? Can he outscore a Tyler Warren over the next couple of years? Can he outscore Sam Laporta? Can he outscore Loveland? Can he do all of that? Like, there's so many names that I think have so much more appeal than Kyle Pitts at this point in time, to where the people who are holding Kyle Pitts and floating his ADP around here are just the same people that drafted him in 2021 over Jamar Chase or over Devonta Smith or over a guy like whoever, and are just holding on to the fact that they hope it pans out the way that they wanted it to in 2021. That just feels like where we are with Pitts. So, look, let's go to, I don't really feel like we need to talk about Bijan Robinson, because to me, RB1 in Dynasty, to you, RB1 in Dynasty, right? Like, I think this is a player who's going to be a top 5 running back if healthy, guaranteed. Tyler Algier, premium handcuff. I think if anything happens to Bijan, Algier has the ability to be a premium handcuff.
Yes.
Drake London, a wide receiver 1. We don't really need to talk about that one, unless you believe differently. Do you believe he's not a wide receiver 1?
He is a wide receiver 1.
Okay, so I think we agree there. Could be a really big year for Drake London, I think, potentially with Penix, based off of some of the data of Penix targeting and favoriting London last year. Let's just talk 2 guys briefly. Darnell Mooney, outside of the top 150, last year was actually pretty decent for fantasy football. He gave us a lot of playable weeks as a flex, a wide receiver 3. Some weeks, there was even weeks where he finished as like a wide receiver 2 or better. Do you think him at wide receiver 59 is intriguing, given the fact that this offense is going to be passing the football quite a bit?
It's intriguing. I definitely would be very comfortable if I had him not as a weekly flex option, but at least someone on my bench who I had the opportunity to put in as a flex when needed. I will say, like, I did have some shares of him last season, and it started out great, ended very poorly. So those are things that, like, I have to consider too. That's why I said I wouldn't trust him in a week-to-week situation, but as a player on your bench is somebody you definitely will feel comfortable like as a depth piece, a legitimate depth piece, like that you can actually play, not like one of those guys that like you never expect to play.
Let's go to Penix. I'm a little bit more bullish on Mooney. Let's go to Penix, because Penix is going to be the guy that makes this offense run this year. QB 18, top 50-ish in Superflex ADP. Is that rich? Is that appropriate? Like, how are we viewing Penix right now for Dynasty?
I still don't know what to make of Penix, man. I think as much as it is, we said Kyle Pitts has a make it or break a year, but he's already broke it. Michael Penix has an actual make it or break a year to a degree, because he has that stud wide receiver there. He has the stud running back there. I don't know how many good offensive line, despite losing Drew Dahlman, still have a good offensive line. And I think this season is where we're going to actually get to see like what we need to see. Last season was kind of like, he's a rookie. Like, what can he do? I think we're going to get to see now now what Michael Penix is really made of. And if a situation occurs where we see Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix is like healthy, that is going to be a complete disaster. I don't think it's going to be a disaster for Drake London or Bijan, but
I just don't think that there's any way in hell a healthy Penix gets benched for Kirk Cousins at this point in time. I don't even know if Kirk Cousins is going to end up being on this team by week 17. Like, I think he could be a trade candidate very quickly.
They should have been traded Kirk.
Yeah, they say they don't want to. I understand you want to have a good backup quarterback, but also, like, his value, there's no, you can get a guy to come in and back up Michael Penix and get some decent value for Kirk Cousins in a trade market. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with Penix. I'm intrigued. I wouldn't say that I'm like, kind of like I said with Bryce Young, I'm not like betting the house on Penix to be this stud or anything. But what do you make of like the narrative? There's like a narrative around Penix where Penix is either this kingmaker because he made Rome Odunze and he made Jalen Polk and he made Jalen McMillan, or do you think that's just a stupid narrative?
Stupid narrative. It's a stupid narrative. Like, he was 40 years old playing with those guys, so of course he should know what to do. In fact, he's the only one. I'll tell you this too. Jaden Daniels could take a step back. Caleb Williams could not become a superstar this year, could need extra time. Drake May, same thing. Bo Nix could take a step back. This guy, Michael Penix, he's the only one who I'm kind of like not like letting any excuses fly for.
Why is that?
Because he's 40 years old and he was in college. He has way more experience than all those guys. Maybe Bo Nix, like not Bo Nix. Okay, so this is how I view things. Penix is number one as far as like guys who I felt like had enough experience in the college game to like actually, should hit the ground running, so to speak, or at least be like a serviceable quarterback, which I feel like he was last season. He was a serviceable quarterback. So this season, my expectations for him individually is either you take a step forward and be a serviceable quarterback, because that's honestly what I think Michael Penix end game is to just be a highly serviceable quarterback, which is nothing's wrong with that. Kirk Cousins has made an entire career off of being a highly serviceable quarterback, and I think that's the ceiling for Penix. I don't think you're gonna see Penix as like this rock star, superstar quarterback. We're gonna talk about him in the same breath as Josh Allen, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, guys like that. I don't think that's him. I think his game needs to be to expertly get that ball to the true superstars on the team, like Drake London, Bijan Robinson. That's how I view Penix. And if he fails to do that this season, then it's going to call it to question what I think about him at all. But the college experience, him, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, all three of those guys had a lot of college experience. Drake May, Caleb Williams did not. So my expectations for the other three are higher based on that. So, and I think Penix is one of those guys. So, and honestly, I think that's part of why they even selected Penix where they did. I think they knew that he could be a high level, like, I don't like using the term game manager, so I would just say
a premium game manager.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way I could describe it. Like,
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's more of the premium game manager type. And I think for me, the lack of my excitement for Michael Penix, I think in fantasy, is because there's virtually zero rushing upside with him. And then if that is the case, which it is, it comes down to the fact of, is he going to throw for enough touchdowns to make up for the lack of rushing in a fantasy football format? And with Bijan Robinson on the roster, I don't know if he's going to throw for, like, does Penix have a 40 touchdown season in him like Joe Burrow does? I don't think so. So I think that's kind of just where I'm at with Penix. And you said game manager. I don't think it should be a negative term. Premium game managers like Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, like we've seen guys, I'm sorry, like it's probably going to offend people too. A premium game manager like Brock Purdy. Like we've seen these guys be very good for NFL teams and make a lot of money in the NFL off of it. And we've seen them give you fantasy football numbers as well. It just takes that big passing yard, passing touchdown season. And maybe Penix can do it. The deep ball is I'll admit, his deep ball is one of my favorite deep balls in the NFL from a visual standpoint. It looks beautiful, but it's like, can he throw for 40 touchdowns? That's my big question. And I guess we'll find out here very quickly. So let's move on to the last team in the division. We are going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Projected to win this division, 9.5 game projected win total. Finished 10-7 last year. NFC South champs. They lost to the Washington Commanders in the wild card round of the playoffs. They lost Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator, and they hired Josh Grizzard as the new offensive coordinator. He was Liam Cohen's passing game coordinator last year, so it's more of a promotion in-house than it was an outside hire. No departures on the offensive side of the ball, but they did add Emeka Egbuka and Tez Johnson in the NFL draft. So a couple additions. The rich got richer here in the NFC South. When you look at the top 250 for them, there's quite a few names. Bucky Irving at the top of the list, Baker Mayfield there, Emeka Egbuka, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Rashad White, Cade Otton, and Sean Tucker round out all of those guys. So a total of 9 players in the top 250. I think the big talking point here, for me at least, is going to be the wide receivers. So let's save that conversation for the end. When it comes down to the running back room, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, how are you viewing the running back room here?
I think they have a good running back room. Bucky Irving is Bucky Irving. We it's like, I feel like recently we've got a little break from talking about Bucky Irving. He hasn't been like in the talking space as much as he was at the beginning of the offseason, but I have no reason to believe that Bucky Irving won't be a good running back this season. I think he has adequate depth in that room. The most interesting player to me out of that room, though, is not Bucky Irving. It's Rashad White. What are we gonna get from Rashad White? I tried to make a trade recently, Ramondre Stevenson for Rashad White. I felt like that was the perfect trade since I have Travion Henderson and he has Bucky Irving, but whatnot. I think the reason I bring it up because I feel like they're kind of in similar positions where it's like, okay, ahead of me, I got this guy that is projected to be a stud. Travion hasn't even had like an actual NFL game yet, and I'm already convinced he's a stud. So,
yeah.
So it's similar situations where it's like these guys formerly were the running back ones for their team. Ramondre was once the running back one for the Pats, and Rashad White is in the same boat. I wonder if the piece of the pie. Now, here's the mistake that a lot of dynasty managers are making, and you alluded to it before. There's a lot of people, and it actually comes with you pissing people off, Andrew. People are under the impression, and you could tell by his ADP too. People are under the impression that Rashad White is just supposed to fold up his tent and drive his Jeep home. Now the Bucky Irving is in town, and I beg to differ. Rashad White is still going to get work in that backfield. It's just a matter of, is he going to get 50%? Is he going to get 45%? Or is he going to get 40%? But I guarantee you are not going to get a 80% to 20% timeshare between Bucky and Rashad White, which some people is up here thinking. It's going to be closer to 50% than anything. And I think a lot of people don't want to accept that because they're like, man, look at what Bucky did last season. No, I think the Buccaneers still value Rashad White.
I do too. I think for me, it's not a matter of hating Bucky Irving. Again, I kind of want people to understand a lot of the narrative that I have had about Bucky Irving this offseason has not been that Bucky Irving is a bad football player. I've never once told you guys that Bucky Irving is bad at football.
But that's what they hear.
I've told you that Bucky Irving's price tag makes me want to move off of him. And it's not that I don't think that Bucky Irving is good. It's never been that. And in fact, single season formats, best balls, redrafts, very much in on Bucky Irving because I don't have to hold the asset long term. That's the reason why. For Bucky Irving with me, it's always been, what's the difference between Bucky Irving and down tiering to a guy like Kyren Williams, who is being faded pretty massively by the community this offseason, and pocketing a future first round pick because people think they're getting the very young, desirable asset in Bucky Irving? What's the difference between Bucky and Kyren if I can pocket a first round pick in the future? It's a no-brainer for me to move down, move back, go to Breece Hall and pocket a first round pick. Play the market. It's never been a player take against Bucky Irving. It's never been he's bad. It's never been that I don't think he can perform. It's just play the fucking market because this is the game that we play in Dynasty is the market. And so if you're going to get a points per game difference of 1 to 2 points by going down tiering to whoever it may be, Chase Brown even is 5 spots behind, and it's the very exact same bet that you're making with Bucky Irving. He's the RB12, I think, right now in Dynasty rankings. So you move back 5 spots and you pocket a first round pick or a wide receiver that you can play in your flex every week, and you're making the same bet at the running back position. That's all I'm doing. It's just process over players. It's not ever been, never has been, never will be Bucky Irving is bad at football. That's the only thing that I want to make clear there. When it comes back to Rashad White, though, he is a player that I've been intrigued by as a very late option, cheap option, as a handcuff. We talked about Tyler Algier being a premium handcuff to Bijan. Rachaad White, whether people like it or not, is kind of a premium handcuff to Bucky Irving as well. We've seen when Rachaad White gets the workload, maybe not super efficient, but he produces for fantasy football. So if anything happens to Bucky Irving, White would be the premium handcuff in this backfield. And I think at running back 50 prices, basically, he's worth a dart throw if people are done and want to throw him, to the Wolves. I'll give you a 3rd-round pick for White and just see what happens, injury-wise, variance-wise, and see if I get a piece here. Tucker, we haven't really talked about him. He's fun. He was a guy that people kind of liked as a dynasty darling dart throw a while back. He's flashed. I still think he's an RB3 on the roster. I don't project him to be a guy that I'm throwing into my lineup really much, so I'm not super intrigued by him at all. It is Bucky and White, and White's the guy that is very affordable, and Bucky is a guy that, just like I said, process-wise, over players, I'm going with a tear-down option potentially, but if you love Bucky, I think he can still produce. That's fine. I'm just saying I personally would tear off and get an extra additional asset thrown in, and maybe get the same points per game from a Kyron Williams, a Breece Hall, Chase Brown, James Cook, even if people are fading James Cook because of the contract holdout. Like, I'll do that. Let's go to the wide receivers, though, because Jalen McMillan, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, super talented wide receiver room. Honestly, if you're looking across the NFL, 4 wide receivers deep, it might be the best wide receiver room in football, 4 deep. I would say right now, it's very interesting with how rapidly Emeka Egbuka is flying up draft boards. He is a top 50 guy already, the wide receiver 19 in Dynasty rankings. It's almost double where Mike Evans is. It's more than double where Chris Godwin is, and Jalen McMillan is kind of outside of the top 50. Is Egbuka that clearly above and away the wide receiver 1 in this offense, or are people getting a little bit too wild on Egbuka?
Let me tell you something. Not only are people not too high on Emeka Egbuka, I'm going to say right now, this day, August 10th, 2025, Emeka Egbuka will be the number 1 highest drafted player on this board right now for me.
You think by this time next year he's a top 25 asset?
I think by this time next year, Egbuka will be the best wide receiver on this team. He will be the best player on this team. The best. Better than Bucky, better than Baker. He'll be the best player on this team. I'm convinced. The world is convinced. Everything. Usually I'm against what the Dynasty community thinks, like in general, like when they're getting too high on a player. I don't think they could be high enough on Emeka Egbuka, which is funny because going into this whole thing, you were the Emeka Egbuka guy. I was just like, meh. But then the more I read, the more I heard the way he's performing in training camp. Like, I used to remember, if you think about the beginning of the offseason, I actually was like, oh yeah, well, I don't know who's going to get more work than Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka. That is dead and stanking. That is dead and stanking. I'm completely like, yeah, man, you can't draft him high enough, man. And there's gonna be people who, like, I just gave advice to someone who were able to acquire Egbuka and Jackson Dart in the trade, and I'm like over the moon about it because I think they got a future number 1 wide receiver stud on their hands. And yeah, man, I don't care if people say, oh, yeah, you're glazing Emeka Egbuka. Fine, I'm glazing him. Whatever. He's the best player that I see right now on this list, and he's the first guy I would take that's on this list.
I like it. Look, you said it. I've kind of been here with Egbuka the whole time, so I'm glad that the community is kind of getting to where I've been at, because now I don't feel alone. I don't feel like the crazy guy that loves Egbuka more than everyone else. But again, I kind of said this in the rookie draft process. It felt like Egbuka was punished in a lot of people's pre-draft process because he played alongside Jeremiah Smith, because he played along Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, it feels like people punished Egbuka for playing with elite wide receiver prospects, and that's not Egbuka's fault. So I don't know. I really do like him. I think he's, for Dynasty, absolutely the most desirable asset here. I think Mike Evans is in store for another big year, as long as he can stay healthy. Godwin, I am very much worried about for 2025. With the ankle injury, and obviously when you have a guy like Egbuka who's in camp just getting all of the praise, it's not great when you're not on the football field. And McMillan's interesting, I think, at an ADP of 140 almost, like outside of the top 50. He's fine because he's an injury away always from being involved in one of the better offenses in football. So very interesting wide receiver room for me. Baker Mayfield as a top 15 guy, we've been Baker guys for a long time, kind of Baker apologists in a way. It's glad to see that he's, I'm glad to see that he's finally getting some some praise. But how do you feel about top 15? Is he a top 15 dynasty quarterback, or have people flipped now where like people didn't like Baker and now people like Baker too much?
It feels right. 15 feels right to me. I think that's about where he lands. I would have to know the players that are around him, but 15 feels about right for Baker.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up that list just quickly because I kind of want to play the game for you.
Okay.
But let me pull up that list real quick and we'll go from there. All right, so here's kind of the list right now. I'll give you a couple names above him and a couple names below him. I won't tell you where the line is, and you tell me what you like. Jordan Love or Baker?
Me personally, Baker.
It's Love. It's Love for me. Purdy or Baker?
With Love and Purdy, I would take them because I'm looking at it from a dynasty perspective. But if I'm talking like right here, right now, I'm taking Baker over both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, but we're talking dynasty, right? We're talking about picking these players in dynasty. So I would go Purdy as well. What about JJ McCarthy?
I'm going JJ McCarthy.
Cam Ward?
I would have to go Cam Ward.
Kyler?
Kyler.
Penix?
Baker.
T-Law?
Baker.
Okay, so you're kind of right where he is. That would put Baker at like QB 17, 18 for you. So not too far off. But I agree. It seems about right. But it's just crazy, man, because we were at a point at one point where I feel like people were writing Baker Mayfield off and basically saying that he should retire and go play college football, Colin Cowherd. But let's talk about a couple breakout sleepers and busts in the division. We each make three predictions here. I will kick it off. I'll start and just give you my quick and dirty predictions here. You probably could tell just by, the way that we've talked about it. For me, the breakout's Tetairoa McMillan. I think Tet's going to be a goddamn superstar. I've liked Tet all off season. I liked him in the pre-draft process. I loved the landing spot. I think he's going to get peppered with targets. This is a player that realistically I'm all in on. I'm so upset that I don't have any shares of him in any of my dynasty drafts. But I think this is a player that a year from now could very, very, very easily and very much in the range of outcomes of being a top 12 dynasty wide receiver. The bust is going to be Chris Godwin. I kind of already said it. Injury, not being on the football field. You have a young stud, rookie wide receiver in Emeka Egbuka chomping at your heels. And you have guys like Jalen McMillan on the roster as well. Maybe a little bit of offensive regression from Liam Cohen not being the offensive coordinator here. I think the bust is going to be Chris Godwin in 2025. The sleeper for me is Darnell Mooney. I think that offense passes enough. I think it's consolidated enough. And obviously, as you guys can tell, I'm not a big fan of the pass catcher in Kyle Pitt. So I do think it is Drake London and Darnell Mooney. That's assuming Darnell Mooney is healthy week one, which it does sound like he should be healthy week one. But that is my sleeper in the division because he's going outside of the top 150 dynasty assets. And I think he can still be a guy that you're playing as a wide receiver 3 in your lineup most weeks. I'll kick it over to you, War. Talk about your predictions.
Now, I do want to say this. My definition of breakout, for me, a rookie can't get a breakout. But if a rookie could, and how I rank things, it would have been Ted. But with that being said, my breakout candidate is going to be Bryce Young because, like I said, I do think we're going to get somewhere in between the Bryce Young we've seen at the end of the season and the Bryce Young we've seen at the beginning of the season. And I think that is a true breakout because it's not just going to be a string of games, a streaky games like at the end of last season. A breakout has to be something that's sustained over an entire season. And I do think we're going to see a Bryce Young that's somewhere in between what we seen at the end of last year and what we seen at the beginning of last year. The bust is going to be, and I told Andrew, and Andrew must have got cold feet. I told Andrew to put the Saints logo for the bust because I was going to say every single Saint is a bust, okay? So, except Alvin Kamara. But that's how I feel. I feel like if you're a Saint, go ahead and just, you might as well mentally go on vacation already before the season even starts because you will not be receiving any type of offensive production. Alvin Kamara will.
I only put Olave because he's the only desirable asset there.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara will only be productive because the ball just has to be handed to him. He doesn't necessarily have to be thrown the ball with regularity, but if you are a pass catcher for the Saints, you are indeed a bust. And for my sleeper, I'm going to pick Emeka Egbuka. I mean, what can be said that's already been said? Andrew would differ that Emeka Egbuka is incapable of being a sleeper because he's already been drafted so high, but it's a testament to what I think Emeka Egbuka is actually going to do. I think Emeka Egbuka is going to perform better than what we could even imagine. I know that sounds crazy. And I think the reason that's going to happen is I think, unfortunately, like Andrew said, his bust is Chris Godwin. I think that when that chicken comes home to roost, and Egbuka is going to be the primary beneficiary of that Godwin injury or that Godwin slow start or whatever we're going to call it. So, and I think it's going to be just one of those situations where once the fox gets into the hen house, they ain't going to be able to turn back to Chris Godwin. They ain't going to be able to turn back and say, all right, Emeka Egbuka, you just look like a complete stud, but Chris is back now. Let's go ahead. And that's why, dude, I don't understand why they didn't just let Chris Godwin. I don't understand why Chris Godwin didn't leave, because this dude right here is definitely here to take his lunch money and kick him off the playground.
I mean, I guess they didn't know that they could draft him when they signed Godwin. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I even felt like Jalen McMillan was fine, and we saw the injury to Godwin. I don't know. I still don't understand the Godwin signing. Maybe it's just trying to prepare for life after Evans, because Evans might not have a ton left in the tank here, and you could move forward with Godwin and Egbuka as the 1 and the 2. Maybe that's the thought, but still, it's tough, man. In the short term, Egbuka is taking some lunch money. He's out there, Debo, and I'm not talking Debo Samuel. He's like Debo out there from Friday. So I'm not talking Debo Samuel. But there you have it, folks. NFC South. Wore my Panthers jersey for you, the Bryce Young jersey. Too bad it's not a Tet one, the way that I think Tet's about to break out. As always, if you like these videos, hit the like button. It is the best free way to show the channel some support. We're doing all of the divisions here, so if there's a division you want to hear us talk about that you haven't yet, they're on the channel or they're coming to the channel. So make sure to go show those some love. Does truly mean a lot. These videos don't do super well in the algorithm, so the people that watch them and show it love, it means even more on these types of videos. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. If you aren't subscribed and you've been watching the channel, stop lurking and stick around for a while and hit that subscribe button. Also, go join the free Discord. The free Discord is where we are helping you guys with your fantasy football teams 24/7, 365. And last but not least, we're doing a pick'em tourney or pick'em pool this year. We want more people to join. That is in the Discord as well. Like I said, just go join that free Discord. Lots of stuff going on in there against the community. Come out pick me and War in a pick'em pool. Pick'em pool here this year. That's like a tongue twister in a little bit of a way.
Yeah.
Come out pick us in a pick'em pool this year. Yeah. All right, War, where can they find your content at?
They can find my content on Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling as one of our YouTube channels, other channel, which is under construction, but still subscribe to us, the Crimson Mass Show. We got a lot of things coming up that we're planning to do. So just go ahead, check us out, show support.
Hell yeah. Show them some love, show us some love. We'll see you on the next episode when we talk about the AFC South. Some interesting teams in that division as well, but we'll see you on the next one. Till then, peace out.